Concepts 1.0. Today we are going to know about measurements. What are measurements? So, getting directly towards the concepts of measurements. Measurements are basically physical attributes relating to your mathematical quantity. So, whenever we are relating physical attribute to any mathematical quantity, we call it to be as a measurement, irrespective of which mathematical quantity or which physical attribute we are talking about. It's just basically a scientific term which has been given to a measurement. So sometimes people find it how to describe the exact definition of a measurement basically. So in simple words, you can relate any physical quantity, which is physical attribute, sorry, which can be the height of a person, the mass of a person, the time. These are all physical quantities basically, or we can say physical attributes. So whenever measurements has been discussed, there must be a discussion about physical attribute. So we move directly head on towards physical attributes. What are physical attributes? We get to know these physical attributes must be related to mathematical information. So what does that mathematical information is telling us? Maths, as you all know, is all about numbers, right? 3, 6, 10, 20. These are all numbers which are giving you some kind of magnitude, how big or how small that quantity can be, because it's our mind, it's a human nature. Like if you see a bigger number, you assume like the quantity is going to be a bigger quantity. That's why whenever we are going to mention any physical attribute alongside a number, you'll get an imagination in your mind, yeah, this physical attribute must be a huge one. So let's talk about one particular physical attribute. Moving on towards mass. As you can see on your screen, mass has been denoted with the number of 70 kilograms. So mass is a physical attribute of any object. You go to a grocery shop, you go to any other market. For example, you go to a fish market, you go to buy some fish meat, and there the shopkeeper is like measuring the mass of your fish. So how you relate like what will be the mass? If someone says to you like, I weighted your fish and it is coming to be as a heavy, give me the money for heavy fish. So you don't even know like how much heavy that fish will be. So to examine and to find the exact level of how heavy or how lighted your fish is weighing, so what we have to do is to relate it to any mathematical number, any mathematical information. So in case of this mass, we relate it to 70 kilograms. So this 70 is giving you an information of how heavy your fish will be. Okay, that is what your physical attribute is. Now let's take furthermore examples of height of a person. Yeah, if someone says like, yeah, this person is tall, this person is short. So if we are not explaining those physical attributes in terms of numbers, then we had too limited information. That information can be vague and very much limited. So we had much more difficulties in understanding what the person wanted to say and how to examine the exact height or different other measurements. So to make these things more simpler, what we do, we try to relate them to any mathematical information. It's just like you can say a relation of your physical attribute to some maths or mathematics. That's why physics and maths are very much correlated to each other. Okay, nevertheless, coming back to a point which says like height has been related to a number which is 5 in case of this example. So this 5 is describing you the exact magnitude of how much heighted that person will be. Okay, so these are some sort of examples. You can find one example of a time which is giving you a number of 6 seconds, mentioning like how much time has been passed. So in short, measurements are what? Measurements are physical attributes. When they must have been related to some mathematical quantity, gives you some exact information. But the question arises here is, how to measure those things, how to measure those quantities which I have been discussed so far. The question is how to find or measure the exact quantity. What is the way of doing this thing? So there are different instruments which have been designed for measuring those things. Instruments used for measuring exact physical attributes. Some of them, I'll tell you the names of those. So some of them are known as here meter ruler, which is a very common you can find in the geometry box of a child in geometry box, even in your own geometry box. There is a meter ruler. The other thing is a scale for measuring a weight. We call it to be as a weight scale. This is another instrument which we use for measuring different other stuff. Third is your stopwatch for finding time between 2 points or for finding how much time has been passed. So these are some of the things which are known as, like, yeah, my question was how to measure those quantities. So we had some limits, we have some instruments which we designed for measuring those measurements. And those instruments are in front of you: meter ruler, weigh scale, stopwatch. These are some of the examples of them. But in some cases, whenever a thing is too small to be measured, then we had some certain methods. We'll discuss about those methods now here. Like, what is a method for measuring anything which is too small? So let's get started towards our methods. Like, what are the methods for finding the exact length if a thing is too short? So coming back towards method, let me give you an example of a small thing which we cannot measure. Like, for example, a page of a book, and we want to find the physical attribute which is known as volume. Okay, we don't know the volume of it, so we wanted to find the volume. If you go and check the exact mathematical information about volume, volume is what? Volume is space occupied by any object. Space occupied by a certain object is known as volume. So in case of specific or specified or definite shape objects, we had some certain formulas for finding the volume. For example, this is a page which I drawn in front of you, a page of a book. Okay, it has its own length, it has its own width. So this is length of the page, this is width of it. The other attribute is its height, or you can say thickness. But this page is too thin, like we don't know how to find the thickness. So in this scenario, what we have to do for finding the volume, just length times its width times its height. But height we cannot find with the help of a meter ruler. We cannot use any scale for finding the thickness of a page because it is way too thin for measuring it with the help of a meter ruler. So in this case, what is our option? There comes a method which is known as displacement. This method is basically designed for such objects which are too thin or which cannot be measured with the help of the exact instrument which have been designed for measuring them. So if anything which is too thin to be measured with the help of a meter ruler, or we cannot do the exact measurements, or the amount of error could be much more in measuring a single amount of that thing. So we try to use a displacement method. So what is displacement method? Displacement method is basically describing to take that particular object in multiple quantity or in bulk quantity. So if we are having one page here, so what we can do for finding the exact volume of it, we can take this page in bulk quantity. For example, we can take a rim of a whole page. Okay, like you can take a book, you can take that pages in bulk quantities, for example, in amount of hundreds. Now, this is what in front of you, it's a paper rim, A4 paper size or whatever you call it. So I have with me, for example, let's say 500 sheets of A4 paper. Now, with those 500 sheets, I can easily tell you the length for a single page, because this length for all the pages is going to be same. The width of those pages is also same. But we are concerned about the thickness, which we cannot find in case of a single page. Now here we know the thickness of a rim. For example, this thickness is 5 centimeters. And we are making assumptions. This thickness is going to be 5 centimeters. Length is going to be, for example, let's say it's 20 centimeters, and width is 10 centimeters. So volume for the whole rim would be volume of a rim is basically equals to 20 times 10 times 5. So when we calculate all these values, it will give you a value of around 1000 centimeter cubic. This is a volume of a whole rim. But we are not concerned about the volume of a rim. We are concerned about the volume of one single page. So for single page, you had to follow these steps, which is 5 centimeters by the number of sheets which were present in a rim. So when you divide these things, you'll get 1 by 100, which says 0.001 centimeter, or zero point zero 0.01, sorry. It gives you a zero point zero 0.01 centimeter. That is a single height of a single page. One page thickness. Now take the thickness and multiply with the rest of the dimensions. So we'll go for volume of one page, volume of single page, and multiply all these things. 20 times your 0.01 times 5, and that information will become 5 times 20 will give you 100, times 0.01 will give you the information of 1 centimeter cubic. This is your volume for a single page. So when one page is taking a volume of 1 centimeter cubic, and 500 pages are going to take a volume of 1000 centimeter cubic. This is the difference between a single page and a volume of the whole ring. So this is your displacement method, which helps you to find those heights, those lengths, and those measurements. If I talk about the whole measurement, it helps you to take the measurement of such objects which are too thin to be measured with the help of the exact instrument. Okay, this is one example which I have given you, but there are millions of examples which you can relate to. And those examples are, for example, I'll tell you one more example, which is the diameter of a pen. If we have a pen with us, okay, or you can say this is a pencil, for example, and we don't have exact instrument for finding the diameter of that thing. We don't have vernier caliper, we don't have screw gauge. So in those scenarios when you don't have these instruments at your home, so you have to find the diameter of a pen or pencil. What you can do, we cannot go for finding the diameter of a single pen or single pencil because the shape is rounded and it might be giving you much more erroneous values. There might be a chance of human error, there might be a chance of instrumental error or scientific error. So to remove those errors and to make your value more precise, more accurate, what we do, we take these pencils in bulk quantity, in number of 5, 10, or some definite number. Okay, for example, we took a 3, align them together, and then find the whole length, how much they are, their length is measuring. Then do your division method and then tell the exact diameter. This is how to use your displacement method for finding the volume, for finding diameter, for finding different other lengths. Okay, I have given you example of finding a volume. I have given you example of finding a diameter. So these are certain things which we used with the help of a displacement method. This is all for today's lecture. See you guys in the next coming lecture with concept 1.0. Have a nice day from my side. Bye bye.